represented today. Australia with not one but two crews into the final here. And we'll meet the crews here in just a moment. Juliet Hay and Nikki Coles from New Zealand, like Mahé Drysdale. They've been over here for a week, the gold medalists of 2 years ago, and we'll meet them in a moment. But here are Australia, way out on the far side in lane one. That's Sally Kehoe, Kate Hornsey in the stroke seat. And they didn't actually go in Linz. There was some sickness in the boat, and we'll wait to see what they do. And here we've got Zhang and Zhai Yulan for China, who are in lane number 2. And here are the New Zealanders, Juliet Hay and Nikki Coles from the West End Rowing Club, like Mahé Drysdale. And as I said, these women silver medalists last year. They won the gold in Gifu 2 years ago. And like the Swindell twins, there's a great deal of determination in that partnership to come back and regain the title. But they'll have to be good if they want to beat the likes of Nicole Zimmermann and Elke Hippler. I really think that this is a terrific partnership. From Rostock and Hanover, they were bronze medalists behind the New Zealanders last season. Kim Crow and Sarah Cook, the winners in Linz. Kim Crow, you can see she's the taller of the two in the bow there. She was a middle distance runner, terrific athlete. She's only really been in rowing for 2 seasons, and what an impact she's had already. And the second German outfit here, Christina Gherkin and Maren Derlin for Germany, silver medalists also last year at the World Championship. So interesting to see how they go. And Kate Hornsey on the far side, one of, you can see, well, they still haven't corrected that graphic here. They still put the top 7 men. Can't understand that at all. We'll just say that she's a brilliant athlete.
Good clean start all around. The near side German crew, Christina Gherking and Maren Derlin, have to get off fast, rather like Campbell did in the preceding race, or they're going to get dropped. And indeed, that's what they've done, and they've got their noses in front.
Yeah, watch out for the other German crew, though, in lane number 4, 3 from the bottom of your picture. Again, they're a crew that probably will take the first quarter to find their rhythm, but I think Nicole Zimmermann and Elke Hippler, they look pretty good in getting into this final. 6:59.09. They were the only crew to break 7 minutes in the semi-finals. That's why they're in lane 4, spearheading, or I believe they will be spearheading the echelon before too long.
Interestingly, Kim Crow and Sarah Cook from Australia in lane 5 are showing well at the moment too. Kim Crow, as you said, relatively new to the game, and she dives her blade. She lifts her hands very high at the catch and smashes the blade in, which is all good aggressive stuff, but it's carrying quite a bit of water up the loom and is a little bit inefficient. But they too have to get going, get an early wriggle on in this race, or they will find they're being left out of it when they get up to the middle part and into the last 500.
I was having a chat yesterday, Hugh, with the Australian coaches, and they can't quite get over Kim. It's not just that she's a brilliant athlete in the way that she's taken to this sport, but she's apparently uncharacteristically polite. She says thank you to her coaches, she sends them Christmas cards, and they absolutely love it. She comes from a different sport originally, you see, where they behave in a slightly different way, and they're all rather enjoying it. In fact, her mother, I think, is executive director of Australian netball, and believe it or not, Kim doesn't like netball, which in Australia, since it's such a fantastic sport in Australia, it's quite amazing. But apparently she just doesn't like the sport, but she loves rowing.
Well, this probably gets her some distance away from her mother, but I mean, she can only get better. If we get a chance to look at her blade, as we have just there been looking at Nicole Zimmermann's blade, we will see in due course that you know, she has a bit to learn about how the blade enters the water and is drawn through. But she's up there challenging for the lead, which at the moment is in the hands of Yage Zhang and Yulan Gou of China.
Yes, and quite interestingly for me, Zimmermann and Hippler have now given themselves quite a task. They are significantly off the pace.
That's Crow and Cook in picture at the moment, and I'll try and show you. Yeah, you see how much more deeply that blade is buried and how much further up the loom the water comes. That's a novice. but some athlete and some determined woman, because look at her, they're now in second place over here on lane 5, meant to be at a disadvantage, not so.
And Juliet Haig and Nikki Coles, just you can see the bow of the New Zealand pair just beginning to come between the Australians and the Chinese pair. That's Zhang and Zhao, who are in lane 2, with the other Australian duo at the moment out of the picture. And now Juliet Haig and Nikki Coles beginning to have their presence felt by the others now as we come to the half distance now. Australia, China, and then New Zealand, and then Germany on the near side. That's Germany 2 and Germany 1. Zimmerman and Hippler, well, they are going to have to sprout wings in the second half.
They certainly are. We talked about them favourably at the beginning, but they've not managed to hold on to this pace. I am more and more impressed with this Australian pair, because they're not even doing it right, and they're winning, and they're winning in a difficult lane. This is an extraordinary physical performance from them, and great credit to them.
Yeah, and these girls, or women I should say, doubling up. You know, Sarah Cook said yesterday after the semi-finals, you always get a bit pushed, but 2 finals tomorrow, the women's pair first, and then it'll be the 8.
Yeah, they like the small, everybody likes the small boats first, so you can give your all then, and then hope to hide your fatigue in the puff and bluster of an 8. But watch this China pair, they're not beaten yet, and looking across, it's difficult to tell the parallax here, but they're challenging, very definitely challenging the Australians for this lead, and dragging with them New Zealand. I think Juliet Haig in the bow seat was looking a little bit tense earlier on in the course, but we'll see how she looks when they get more into picture now.
That's pretty well on the premises there, and you can see that Zimmerman and Hippler are trying, well, you saw momentarily that Zimmerman and Hippler are trying to get themselves back into this, but there's a lot of clear water that they've got to close out. And I must say, we've seen terrific performances by the Chinese lightweights, and now we're getting a measure of what the Chinese might be doing in the open weight division as well.
Well, certainly. I mean, we saw Zhang in the single sculls take a silver medal there. And now we've got this pair who's certainly going to get a silver, well, not certainly, and are in fact just in gold medal position.
Yes, they are. Australia, New Zealand, and then Germany 1. That's Zimmerman and Hippler, and you can see they've got a couple of seconds to find, and they are going to have to fly during the last 500 metres. But what can the Aussies and the New Zealanders do with the Chinese? Because there's the Chinese with 2, the New Zealanders with 3, and the Australians in lane 5. Kim Crowe and Sarah Cook, the winners in Linz, looking to try and retain their World Cup domination, but these two look remorseless.
They did earlier on the course. They aren't doing anything special, they're just doing it again and again, really solid, really long in the water, lots of reach, legs coming over the vertical so the knees are over the ankles and driving down. Beautiful leg drive, lifting that boat along, and they're half a length clear of the 2005 World Champions New Zealand, and Australia in 3rd place.
And very interesting, China, who had a very bright start, then Australia had the better of the second quarter, China counter-attacking in the 3rd quarter, and now pushing home that advantage. And Juliet Haig and Nikki Coles, I think this is a pretty good first outing from these two, you know, for the season.
They had a poor season last season by their own world champion standards, and so they were anxious, I think, to get back on the table this year. They were the weakest of the gold medalists in the New Zealand team, which has had an extraordinary sweep in Gifu, but they're very definitely back in the game this time around.
Biggest ever team from New Zealand here, some 39 athletes, 13 boats for John Howard and his team to manage. I can tell you, behind the athletes' food tent, they've got a trailer, their own personal boat park, but it is China who take it from New Zealand, and then, whoa, Australia just getting it from their teammates on the far side with a very disappointing performance by both the German crews, who finish well down. Just looking for confirmation on this, but it was certainly China, New Zealand, Australia 1, beating Australia 2, and then Germany 5th and 6th respectively. And Zhang and Zhao, well, that's another noteworthy performance.
A very noteworthy performance. We've been talking about Australia 1, Kim Crowe and Sarah Cook, and after their win in Linz, that's actually very respectable over here on lane 5, and they took the race to everybody else and were rolled over, but only at the very end.
And the
nevertheless, outstanding, as you say, from China.
Yeah, that's a second quicker than the semi-final. Well, you would expect it to be a little faster with all the talent there, but I think that's